Apple Notes is making its round on social media as an absolute meme at the moment. And today I wanted to do Keep Productive's first ever meme review / deep analysis of this and give you an idea of what I personally think of this meme making its rounds on Twitter at the moment. So there's a meme on Twitter. It's basically a graph showing the IQ score along the bottom and the sort of average users per one. And they're saying that normally people with low IQs go with Apple Notes, people with high IQs go with Apple Notes as well, and everyone in between is just stressed and switching and finding the productivity tool that's perfect for them and finding it stressful. And largely I agree with this meme. I'd definitely give this meme a 9 out of 10. It made me absolutely chuckle when I saw it, and I'm so glad that it got brought out because the attention of this is actually really important. And today I wanted to actually make this a little bit more serious than it is and sort of talk about two things. The first is switching and the second is differences in productivity. So switching is something I've been talking about for quite a while now. Switching is one of the most toxic things you can do in productivity, in my opinion. The key thing for productivity is to make it as consistent as possible. And for a lot of people, that is finding the right base on their application. Sticking with your application for as long as humanly possible to suit your needs is the best thing to do. Research, finding out the best tools, is really important when it comes to sticking with an application long term. I cannot speak about this enough. I actually spoke at a conference about this and have been speaking on YouTube about it for some time. Here's a little clip from that conference.
So number two is switching. Okay, so your goal is to actually settle down on this application once you've got it. You don't want to move. The importance of this is massive. A lot of people switch. I've done it in the past, and honestly, it's something that I know a lot of people will be doing. But it's important to settle down because once you do, you'll save so much time, money, and effort because it is like moving house when you move a note taker or to-do list application. So what I typically recommend is plan your choice for a 3 to 5 year distance. So for example, I know that when I started university, I was recommended a lot and was going to go with an app called Wunderlist, which was great for the time period, but I knew I'd need some sharing abilities after I finished university for some jobs. So I went with an app called Todoist, and I've been with them for 6 years now. So the importance of the application is to be there for as long as possible so that you don't have to move.
So the reason I'm saying that, and to sort of build on that moving house analogy, is there's that stress, there's that effort, there's that time that is spent finding and switching applications, and that's what's stressful. So you want to do it as minimally as possible. So that's why I largely agree with this meme in the center, because that guy crying is the people who are just switching and moving applications. The ones that stick long term and optimize it when they find their base is probably much more suitable. I've actually got a video coming out soon called The Problem with Notion, which talks about this topic in much more detail. And it really does go a lot further. So hopefully, if you're interested, you can subscribe to this channel to dive into a bit more. So switching is really fundamental to productivity because the less switching you do and the more research you do at the start, the more productive you'll be and the time you'll save setting up that tool that matters to you. So the second topic is the differences in productivity. Now, productivity is so unique. Everyone is different and everyone has their own take on it. My wife, she will work from a notepad and she does a stellar job and she's very, very efficient at doing stuff. So much more efficient than me. It's really embarrassing running the YouTube channel about it. But as you can imagine, people don't necessarily need these tools in the middle. They might need Apple Notes. They might need OneNote. It's whatever suits you best. And it's really useful to see. I've seen students that have taken Notion and then been able to 3x their proactiveness before getting to a job. I think the fundamental difference is you're actually using a tool to get yourself a step further. I believe in a concept called rules over tools, where you focus more on your generalized productivity, the foundations of your productivity before the actual tool. If you look at that, you'll tend to find that a lot of the time the productivity tool doesn't matter as much, and probably 80% of the productivity apps that you find will solve the majority of your problems, but it's important to find the foundations of your productivity first. What I mean by foundations is like getting things done, Kanban methodologies, Pomodoros, things that actually will help you systematize your productivity versus necessarily, the tool and the software that's in front of you. So it's really interesting. I did see some negative feedback from this. And of course, it's great to have negative feedback because we can learn from it. And there was one in particular, I won't show the details of the tweet, is these productivity YouTubers and their note-taking applications marketing are getting out of hand and wasting thousands of young students' careers. Apple Notes all over all of the BS. And I agree with him about the productivity app market. There is some toxic behavior in the productivity space, and I am part of that. And it's difficult to find a balance between being and putting out content regularly about finding the right productivity application and being relevant for the long term. It is hard to find a balance, and I'm definitely learning more and more about this. But at the same time, I always go with the basis of actually quite an interesting statistic on our YouTube. 80% of the people who watch our videos aren't subscribed because they come, they find the information and they go. And that's what I love. The people who typically stay are the ones who are trying to find a tool that they want to enhance, or maybe are interested in the other videos that we do on productivity, not necessarily the fact that we do other videos about sort of new apps. It's difficult to navigate this space because it's so new as a problem, but I guess it's very similar to self-development in it to some extent, because it's very similar in its fashion of like motivation for motivation's sake and things like that. Going back to the Apple Notes meme, I do think there's a good sort of rule for this in general, and I always refer to productivity tools like a car dealership. You walk into a car dealership and they're not just going to sell you the Hyundai and tell you to go. They're going to give you the best car for your needs. So the great thing is there are a few cars, but we all know they go from A to B. Every car goes from A to B. A Mercedes-Benz posh car, lovely car, will get you from A to B. Maybe one a little bit more efficiently and faster, maybe breaking down a little bit less in the long term, but they'll get you from A to B, largely, right? So this is what I mean is, there are so many different cars for lots of different situations. There's cars that are adapted for disabilities. There's cars that are adapted for those with a different lifestyle. There's cars that are much more suitable for older people or young people. There is a different car, and there's a car for everyone out there. And it's similar to the productivity market. That's how I tend to view it. So negative aside, I think this is probably a good time to, if you're looking at yourself and going, I'm making a lot of switching, I'm making a lot of shiny new syndrome decisions, this might be the good learning outcome for this video is, okay, maybe I need to look at the productivity tools that I use and say, I'm going to stay for these for the long term now and adapt to that. I have a typical process that I go through, which is research, trial, which is committing to the application, and then optimize, where you then actually learn the tool and build on it and make sure you build a base for the future. That's my opinion on it. I'd love to hear your opinion. It's a very complicated topic at least, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about in today's video. This is such a weird video to do about a productivity meme that's exploding. But I'd really love to hear some of your opinions on this. Thank you very much, folks. If you're new here, hit subscribe and I'll talk to you all very soon. Cheerio.